Hello everyone, I wanted to make a quick instructional video about how to search through my NLRB database, my NLRB Research tool, and also to highlight some new things, some changes since the last time I've done a video about this. So let's jump in. This is the screen that you'll get when you go to the website. The testers have a different URL. I'm running this on localhost. The testers have a different URL, but this is the screen that you should see. And we have here the various columns: type, which is the document type; date, which is the date of the document. Not all documents have dates. Name, which is the name of the document. Citation, which is the formal citation of the document. Not all documents have citations. We have the case number, and then we have the administrative law judge. For ALJ decisions, there will be an administrative law judge named. And right here, you really should click this, because this is going to tell you how to do the searching. And it's a very nice little document here that all the little searches are clickable. So when you click them, it'll take you to that search. So you can actually see what it looks like. The first thing to mention is so I'll just go straight through the list, but I'll vocalize it. Number one, the search is not case sensitive. So if we click here, we get the search for right line. That's capital W, capital L. We get this many rows. If we go here, no capitalization, and we get same number of rows, exact same results. Capitalization does not matter. Number two, always quote the search word or phrase. If you're doing a word with, if you're doing a phrase with a space in it, obviously quote it. I think most people are used to that. But really, honestly, even if you don't have a space in it, always quote it. There are some times where you can get away with not quoting it, but it's really not worth trying to memorize when you can get away with not quoting it. Just always quote the word or the phrase that you are searching. Number three, normal searches look at all the columns. So if we go to this search again, what it does is it searches for this phrase in every column: the type column, the date column, the name column, the citation column, the case number column, the ALJ column, as well as these two columns here, which is the text of the document and the board text of the document. I'll explain that a little bit in a second. But it searches all 8 of these columns. So right line will actually show up in the name column, because there are, I think, 4 documents that have the phrase right line in it, in the name. And then it will show up in all these thousands of other documents, because those documents mention right line, which is a very important case. There are, as I said, 8 searchable columns. We have the document type. We have the date. The date is in this format. We have the name of the document. We have the citation, the case number, the text, and the board text. Board text is a new feature that I just put in based on some of the feedback. I have over 100 people testing this right now, giving feedback. And one response that I've gotten, which I thought was very savvy, is that whenever you have a board decision, sorry, that's an ALJ decision. Whenever you have a board decision, the way the board decisions work is you have, at the top of the decision, if you're not familiar, you have the words that the board has written in their decision, right? So we have decision and order, and then we have all these words, and a lot of it happens in these footnotes, right? And then attached to that decision is this right here, right? Which is actually the decision of the underlying administrative law judge, right? So the case first goes to an administrative law judge, and then it goes up to the board. And the board frequently, as you see here, in just 1 or 2 pages says, yeah, we basically agree with the ALJ. We would make this and that distinction, blah, blah, blah. And then that's it. And then the rest of the document is just the ALJ decision. So in this case, 17 of the 18 pages is just the ALJ decision. Well, you may not want to search the ALJ text, because the ALJ text is not the board's text. And in every legal research tool that exists for the board, most specifically Westlaw and Lexis, if you're word searching board cases, you're going to be stuck both triggering words in the ALJ decision and triggering words in the board decision. And there's just nothing you can do about it, it would seem like, because, that's what the document contains essentially 2 decisions in it. And if you want to decide, if you have to search both of them, that can be very frustrating if you're trying to specifically get the words that the board has written. So I have added an eighth column, which is board text. And all the board text is it's all the text in these decisions before the ALJ comes in. So only this stuff, only the first 2 pages will trigger, will match searches for that. So very important, and I'll show some of how that works in a minute. There are 13 document types. So if you're searching for, if you're trying to narrow down to a specific document type, these are the document types you will use. Published board decision, unpublished board decision, administrative law judge decision, regional election decision, board appellate brief, injunction appellate brief, GC memo, OM memo, advice memo, manual, statute, and Supreme Court. Okay? So normally most people, a lot of regular searching is just going to be done just putting stuff in the box, right? Protected activity, and you'll get a bunch of answers, right? So he gets 7,000. Oh, that's too many. Let's think about distributing leaflets, right? And you'll just keep narrowing, right? So just keep narrowing. Working time, right? You could just keep adding stuff, and that's what most people, I imagine, even when I use this is mostly what I'm doing, is I'm just kind of searching all the columns, and I'll start with a broad phrase. If I get too many hits, I'll keep adding phrases until I get a smaller number of documents, and then I'll click through and start reading them. So that's mostly how you're going to search. I emphasize that because I'm about to go into talking about other ways to search, and those will probably take up more time in the video just because they're a little more complicated to explain, but this is mostly what you're doing. So if you're just a regular person kind of goofing around on here, you mostly just typing in phrases, one after the other, and if you get too many hits, just add another phrase. And these function as ands, right? So it protected activity, distributing leaflets, right? Is this the same thing as and distributing leaflets, right? So if you're just doing the normal, most basic kind of search, you can just do a series of quoted words and phrases. Okay. But if you want a little bit more advanced stuff, and this sometimes, I use this quite a bit as well, a lot of what that's going to involve is searching a specific column. So remember, if you just type this in, if you just type right line in, it's going to search all of the columns. But you may only want to search a specific column. So let's say you want to search just the board decisions. I only want the board decisions, all right? Well, then you'll type this in. Now notice this is not quoted, right? Only this part is quoted because we're doing a column search. We're searching the column type for the phrase published board decision. So you'll see it's all published board decisions, right? From there, if you want to narrow it further, you can type and then start going, right? Protected activity, and distributing leaflets, right? But you can start with the column search. So type published board decision will give you every decision of every document that is of that type. ALJ decision, same thing. GC memo, same thing, right? For the date column, which is this one, if you wanted to search a specific year, you could type that in, right? That'll because 2022 will show up in the search. So this is all the documents from 2022. We have 888, which is cool. If you want to search a specific month, you could do it like this. This is May of 2022. And of course, you could search a specific day too, if you wanted. There's May 24th of 2022. You get all the documents from there. If you wanted to search the name of the case, right here, name Boeing, right? You see we get lots of stuff here, right? Boeing, the Boeing company. This is true search, right? Boeing company, right? So, okay. This is a super useful one. I would say I use this more than any other column search, and that is the citation. If you get a citation from a specific case, that you're reading a case, it makes some statement, and then it cites to another case. You want to go check that case out. You'll just type citation, space, colon, make sure you do the spaces, and then you'll quote the citation. To give you an example, let's say I open Stericycle Oh, what is this? Apogee Retail. Okay, what's going on here? Let's check this out. Copy, right? Copy, paste. There it is, right? I do that a ton. In fact, I would say a lot of what I do is just go from citation to citation to citation. You can also do this with the case number. So this searches this column, and as you can see, this case number, McLaren-McComb, we've got an ALJ decision, a published board decision, and a board appellate brief. You can search the ALJ's name, right? Here are all of Michael Rosas's decisions. He's got 97 of them. You can search the text of the case. I would say you're rarely going to just search the text of the case. You might as well just put right line in there and you're going to get the same outcome, because the only difference is that also is going to search the name, and who cares, right? So I would say you rarely will use specifically the text thing, but who knows? It's there as a column. And then we have board text. So this is a good distinction here, right? So if we just search the text of it, which we can also do this way, you're going to get, like I said, in board decisions, you're going to get the board text and the ALJ attached decision, but you may only want to see where the board has used the word right line, in which case you'll put this in front, board text. So notice the difference. If you just search the text of each case, you get 5,932 rows. If you search the board text, you get 1,829 rows. And this is true even if you were to narrow this to published board decisions. You'll still get a huge difference, right? So in the published board decision text, there's 3,723 rows that mention right line. That's including mentions in the board part of the decision and in the attached ALJ decision. Here, we're only doing the board part of the decision, and we get 1,829 rows, right? So big difference there. I think this board text feature is a big, anyone who's practiced labor law and had to search these things a lot will know that this is a huge, huge benefit. And no other service has this, so I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, so that's how we search specific columns. Now we can combine parameters with and. We're going to start going into the Boolean logic stuff. But this stuff is still pretty basic, right? So if you wanted to match preemption and Garmin, you would type it this way, right? But as I've said already before, it defaults to and. So if you don't put an operator between your terms, it's always just going to assume and. So these are the same thing. You see 154, 154. You don't have to put the and in. But it's there, and sometimes it is useful, and you kind of do have to put the and in depending on what you're doing, right? So here I want to search all the cases where the name has the word Boeing in it and where coercive essentially is in the text of the decision, right? And so that works. And you see we could also do it like this. And it's the same thing, right? So that's useful, right? I heard, okay, before this case Stericycle, there was this case called Boeing that dealt with coercive rules. So how do I find that? Okay, and obviously it was a published board decision. And always needs to be capitalized if you're doing it this way. Published board decision. All right, here we've narrowed it down. And I believe this is the one. All right. And this is how you would do just the board text, right? So before it was just all coercive, and this is just the board text. Here, I want to search all published board decisions. So I do type published board decision, and then I use the and operator to, within those decisions, search for Oakwood Healthcare. We get 141 rows of that. I want to search the Supreme Court cases that I have. So I do type Supreme Court and preemption. So this is all the Supreme Court cases that I have in my database, which are all the Supreme Court cases that mention the NLRA or the NLRB and preemption. So all the Supreme Court cases that use the word preemption, again, that are already filtered for only NLRA, NLRB cases. Next, we can go to not. So let's say you wanted to search for preemption cases, but you didn't want to get cases that also use the word Garmin. Garmin preemption is a specific preemption doctrine. So we search preemption, and then we say not Garmin. So these will all be cases where the word preemption is present, but the word Garmin is not. So maybe you want to search for machinist. You want to try to get machinist preemption or whatever, right? You'd want to exclude Garmin from there. And then we can also exclude types, right? Because not will apply to any of these kind of parameters. So I want to search for Garmin. I'm trying to get Garmin preemption cases, but I don't want the Supreme Court cases. I don't want its discussion of Garmin. I want ALJ decisions and advice memos and all these types. So I'll just use not to exclude type Supreme Court, right? And we can use or as well. So here's preemption or Garmin. This will give you any cases that have the word preemption in it, any cases that have the word Garmin in it, or cases that have both, right? And here's a way, like I've had some people say, can I do like wildcard searching? What if I wanted to search for a lot of different ways to kind of say the word preemption? That's not possible because the way the fast text indexing works is each word is fully tokenized. I won't go into all that. But you can approximate it with something like this, right? Preemption or preempt or preempted. It's a little cumbersome, but I think the speed gains of tokenizing all the words is worth something like this. You can search multiple parameters that are near one another with near, right? So let's click into that and see what that looks like. So this is near preemption Garmin. And I think you can put and in here as well if you want to make it more. Oops. Nope, that's incorrect. Okay. So this is by default going to search for, if you just do near and you put two words together, and I think you can put other words more than two if you want, it's going to find documents where the word preemption and the word Garmin is within 10 words of one another, right? So if I put 10 in there, you'll see it's the same exact result. So it defaults to 10 words in there. You can use different words, different number of words as well, right? So here I put 5 in, right? So if we go here, that's 10 words apart. This one, 5 words apart. You see less results. 3 words apart, less results, right? 25 words apart, we get 88 results, right? So near can be useful. If you're in Westlaw, you've probably seen if you've done sophisticated searching there, you'll do the /s for the words are in the same sentence and /p for the words are in the same paragraph. The way I do the indexing, there's no paragraphs or sentences that remain like cognizable within the searching. But with near, you can do the same basic thing, right? If you want to find something that's within the same paragraph, just put like within the same 100 words. And like that's pretty much going to get the job done, or 200 or 300. And the benefit here is, you could just search and search and search, right? That's one of the nice things about it being so fast is you just don't have to worry about getting the perfect query. Start with the 1,000 word apart if you want, and then you're like, that's too many. I want it to be a little closer, and just play around with it, right? All right. And again, you can combine all this stuff together. So this is near Garmin preemption. So these are documents where the words Garmin and preemption are within 5 words of one another. And we're restricting it to documents of the type Supreme Court. So see, we get 5 Supreme Court cases where the phrase preemption and Garmin are within 5 words of one another. So those are probably pretty good hits if you're trying to figure out where the Supreme Court is on Garmin preemption. This, of course, is their last case on the topic. Make sure we capitalize these Boolean operators. So if we do preemption not Garmin capitalized, that's what we want, right? We'll get documents with the word preemption in it that don't have the word Garmin in them. If we do preemption not Garmin without it being capitalized, not here actually ends up being treated as if it's just another word. And that's not what we want. So we're getting documents. If we do it this way, we're getting documents that have the word preemption, not and Garmin in them, right? That's not what we want. So always capitalize your operators. And then finally, you can use parentheses to unlock more complicated logic. This is one where, if you're real into this, you can figure some of this out. If you want to search it, SQLite, fast text or full text search index, this right here will tell you, you could go deep into this stuff for how all this works. But you can also kind of guess and check because some of this is pretty intuitive. So let's look at some uses of parentheses to get complicated logic. So here I want to look for cases that mention the word preemption. But I don't want to search for just one document type. I want to search for between two document types. I want both Supreme Court decisions and published board decisions. So what do? I say preemption and parentheses type Supreme Court or type published board decision, right? So the and sort of applies to the whole thing in the parentheses. And in the parentheses, we're narrowing to either Supreme Court cases or published board decisions. So you see in our results here, we get published board decisions, Supreme Court decisions, published board decisions. Where's the next Supreme Court decision? Supreme Court. Yeah, see, so we get Supreme Court decisions as well and published board decisions. So, right, that's how you can search multiple document types at the same time for a specific word, right? Using this and operator and then using parentheses with the or, right? And then if you want to search the board text, for example, for multiple words, you can do that in parentheses, right? So preemption and Garmin, you'll only get cases where in the board text, not the appended ALJ decision, but in the board text, you get the phrase preemption and Garmin. And you can use other operators as well, right? So parentheses, if you got like a complicated thing where you're like, oh, I want to have some ands and some ors, and I also within the column would like to do, right? Typically, if you're trying to figure that out, think about logically how you could use parentheses to group things, and that is frequently how it works. If not, like I said, you can Google, you can go to this page and get the full technical rundown of what we're doing here. This is a good part of it. So there you go. This is how searching is done. Like I said, I spent a lot of the video on the Boolean operators, the and, the not, the or, the near, the complicated parentheses and all that. But most people, a lot of what you're going to be doing is just the most basic word searching, right? And maybe a little bit of, I would say this. This is probably other than just word searching and combining words and phrases with one another to narrow, this is probably the most complicated thing you're going to do frequently. So yeah, but this is a really, I think it's still quite simple. So I don't know, have a go of it and spend some time getting good at searching. It's not like AI at this point, right? Though we might get there. I might do some LLM stuff with this. These are not semantic searches. It's not like, this is word searching. We're trying to match words in documents, match words in columns, match words in metadata, and we have sophisticated ways to do that. You got to be a little bit good at searching, And the nice thing about it is I have instructions on the website right here. I'm going to post this video in here as well. And if you get confused, what do I do? Just click one of these. Oh, okay, what does that look like? You click it and it'll open up and you can see it right there, right? So it's just spend a little bit of time getting good at word searching. And I think you'll have a good time with this.